Good morning, Craig Howard here. Um, I read an article about a company that makes Christmas ornaments, and the Christmas ornament that this particular company is making as a reminder or as a memento for 2020 is a dumpster on fire. um, I'm not sure that that's the ornament that I want to remember for 2020. But the point it's making is that it is important for us to remember certain things in our life, for us to remember certain events in our life, and sort of commemorate them. There are things that I want to remember about 2020. I want to remember how God brought my wife through what could have been a devastating illness. She was, for those of you that didn't know, back in November, she spent a week in the hospital in intensive care and isolation with pneumonia and blood clots in her lungs from the coronavirus. And it was a very dangerous time, very scary time for us. And God brought her through that, and I'm thankful for that. It's also a year where I lost both my uncle and my cousin, and two very special people in my life, two very important people in my life, and lost one to cancer and lost one to the coronavirus. And I want to remember them. I don't want to just push them off into the background of my history, but I want to remember this year, and I want to remember them and keep them in my hearts. And there's other things that have come about this year that, with all of the mixed up, messed up stuff that coronavirus has brought to our world, it's also it's forced me into new forms of communication. I have a Tuesday night online Bible study now. Every Tuesday night I get together with 6 or 8 people on a Zoom account, and we have a Bible study together. And it's a good time. We have a good time with it. I'd been wanting to do something like that for years. Couldn't figure out how to do it, and the coronavirus shoved Zoom to the forefront, and all of a sudden Zoom has a whole different meaning in our language today. And all of a sudden I realized there was a way to have these online Bible studies, especially for people that didn't want to come out late at night and didn't want to drive at night. They could get on and we could have Bible study together. It's pushed not only our church, but literally untold numbers of other churches into the 21st century as far as technology goes, being able to communicate with our people, being able to get messages out via online. Our Christmas Eve service, on average, we would have around 350. The most we ever had was 450 people, but around 350 people would normally come to our Christmas Eve service. We couldn't have a live Christmas Eve service inside this year, but we did a virtual service online with all of the same elements, and it had over 1,000 views with multiple people watching at each site. So instead of 350 people watching, we had maybe 3,000 to 4,000 people watching our Christmas Eve service. And so the point I'm getting at is it's pushed us into finding different ways to expand our ministry and expand the work of the Lord and expand the way that we spread the gospel. There are people that watch our Sunday morning services now that never went to church before, and I get messages from them. There are people that watch these devotionals now, that watch these devotionals that I get messages from all around the country of things that they appreciate. And so I want to remember 2020 as a time when, maybe for me an ornament would be a computer screen with Zoom written on the front of it, or with Facebook on the front of it, or YouTube on the front of it, or any number of other mediums that we're using, Instagram or whatever, any one of the other mediums that we're using. They're not ideal. They don't replace face-to-face. And I'm not trying to say this has been better than face-to-face types of things, but it has put another arrow in the quiver, and it is something that we need to remember, and remember that when push comes to shove, we can expand our horizons. We can look for other opportunities to serve God in ways we had never thought of before. And that's important for us to learn that lesson. It's important for us. So we need to remember that. The Bible told the nation of Israel, God told the nation of Israel whenever they were going to have the first Passover. And if you remember what the Passover was, it's when the death angel passed over Egypt and killed the firstborn child or the firstborn son of every Egyptian in every home where there wasn't blood marked at the doorposts. And it was something that God said, this is going to be a terrible thing, but it's going to force Egypt to release you from bondage, release you from slavery. And you need to remember this. And still to this day, the feast of the Passover is practiced by Jews. And it said, God said, talking about the Passover, it says, and you shall observe this thing as an ordinance for you and your sons forever. It says, and it will come to pass that when you come to the land which the Lord will give you, just as he promised, that you keep this service. And it goes on to say it's going to be a reminder to your children of God's goodness as we move out of 2020 and move into 2021. There are things about this year we need to remember, not just with bitterness, but with thankfulness, that God has been with us and that God has been teaching us and stretching us and causing us to grow and maybe deepening our commitment to him. It's when we go through trials, it tends to be when we go through trials that we lean more heavily on our relationship with God. And maybe you're having a walk with God that's deeper now than you ever had before because of the struggles that you've gone through in this past year. So, I don't know that the proper ornament is a dumpster on fire. But I do think we need to remember how God walked with us through 2020 and all of the struggles that we've had and the struggles that are yet to come in 2021. We need to learn that God will walk with us through them. All right. Well, listen, you have a great day. I got kind of long-winded today, so I'll get off here. God bless you. And I don't know if I'll get a chance to put anything up tomorrow. Not sure what Camille has planned, but if I do, I'll see you tomorrow. God bless.